I ultimately came to the University of Richmond for the Jepson School of Leadership Studies, and I can confidently say after completing all my courses that this has truly prepared me for the real world.
The main reason I chose the University of Richmond was the Jepson School of Leadership. I sat in on a class and I was truly amazed at the engagement and environment that the professor and the students created in that classroom, and it was something that I knew I wanted to be a part of.
For the diversity of classes, how it incorporates different fields of study, and you understand why people are so irrational. And Jepson also teaches you a range of skill sets that you can't find anywhere else.
I immediately knew Jepson was the choice for me after I took Leadership 102 with Dr. Hallwell. Specifically, we read this book called Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. And Malcolm Gladwell is just an amazing author.
My dream is to work in commercial real estate in New York. And I think the group dynamics and working in teams has really prepared me for that.
I think that leadership plays an intrinsic role in society. And I chose Jepson because I want to study that phenomenon and the history surrounding it.
For me, Jepson really allows you to do anything you want. So in the classes, you can do a little bit of philosophy, you can do a bit of history, and even a bit of math. And I like that because that's really who I am. I like to do everything. I don't like to be pigeonholed into one place.
I saw Jepson as an opportunity to give me the tools to be an advocate for those who don't have the same opportunities that I do.
As a student, it's really helped me sharpen my critical thinking skills and expose me to subjects that I never would have had the opportunity to study.
I chose Jepson because as somebody interested in arts administration, I wanted to see sort of how I fit into the larger community, whether that be through classes about group dynamics or about classes about diverse societies, or even where we're just learning things about transformational leadership.
I chose Jepson because I really like the interdisciplinary approach to problems, and I also really like the sense of community both inside and outside of the classroom.
I chose Jepson because it allowed me to explore avenues of social justice and advocacy around healthcare and other human rights topics.
I think Dr. Forsyth's group dynamics elective forced me to think in new ways because it made me realize that different parts of a group, whether you're a leader or a follower, are also vital to the group's end goal.
Ethical decision-making in healthcare. I'm, besides being in Jepson, I'm also a bio major on a pre-med track, so I believe that this class really helped me to form intersections and really see the connections between leadership and ethics and then healthcare.
My Justice and Civil Society class really challenged me because we were going out into the community and seeing firsthand some of the problems that we were discussing in class, and then also seeing some of the ways to combat those problems.
The Jepson course that taught me to think in new and different ways is definitely my ethics course, which I took in the fall of my senior year. Throughout the entirety of the course, we basically explored how ethics is not this concrete, static term or a term that has one understanding. And I was able to learn that not only through the scholarship that we were exploring, but also through learning and hearing the different perspectives of my classmates.
In my Justice and Civil Society class, we did a SNAP challenge where students were asked to live off of $4.50 of dining dollars a day for 4 days and record our experiences, specifically the challenges we faced. And this was a really eye-opening experience for me because not only did it push me to empathize and understand on a whole new level, but it also further motivated me to seek ways I could give back.
My Jepson class that challenged me to think in new different ways is probably leadership ethics, because it taught me a lot about breaking down my own ways of thinking and questioning things that I thought were universal truths and realizing that they weren't.
Justice and Civil Society with Professor Williamson really challenged me to think outside of the confines of what being a leadership student and just a student in general can mean, and really engage the community in ways that I never thought possible before.
Justice and Civil Society with Dr. Coetzee challenged me to think in new and different ways because she took a philosophical lens to the class, so we were thinking about modern day issues, but through a philosophical lens, which I'd never really used before.
Last semester, I took a course titled Leadership in Diverse Societies with Dr. Hoyt, and so it really pushed us to think a lot about these psychological processes and specific ways of thinking that affects people in society and ourselves both positively and negatively.
A Jepson class that challenged me to think in new and different ways was leadership ethics. It teaches you the ethics behind decision making, which is a crucial skill to learn before entering the job world.
My sophomore year, I took Justice and Civil Society with Dr. Williamson and really pushed me to critically analyze the society that we live in.
Sophomore year, I kept doing very poorly on essays in one of my Jepson classes. And it wasn't until I wrote an essay on climate change and anthropence, something I was really passionate about, that my professor just responded with, "You've arrived."
I was interning at the Wilson Center, which is a public and foreign policy think tank in Washington, D.C., and I learned how to merge both task and relationship-oriented behaviors.
This past summer, I had an internship with a sales consulting firm called European Gateway, and I was able to use the skills that I learned in Dr. Harwell's 102 class about social sciences and emotional intelligence to really help me with my cold calling skills, and I think that this will be really beneficial in a future career.
So I interned at William Blair, which is a financial firm, and worked in institutional sales there, and had to focus across 7 different sectors rather than focusing on one, and really had to apply my leadership principles because we had to synthesize information from economics backgrounds, philosophy backgrounds, whatever it might be in our leadership courses. And I'll be returning to William Blair in the fall.
This summer I interned at SagePoint Financial, which is a small wealth management firm in Richmond, and I was definitely able to use the communication and collaboration skills that I learned in my classes at Jepson to make a meaningful impact in a really small office.
So my internship was with the Performing Arts Project. I used the leadership skills that I developed from Jepson when communicating with fellow interns and with staff and faculty, and also when I was pitching ideas for future programming.
I completed my internship at the American Enterprise Institute, which is a think tank located in Washington, D.C. A lot of what I did involved observing different political leaders and how they act towards their followers, which was a really great opportunity for me to be able to apply some of the principles and theories that I learned in Jepson.
I completed my internship at the Association of State and Territorial Health Officials, and I really got to see collaboration on display there and what happens when there isn't collaboration perhaps, so working with data sharing and trying to understand when collaboration goes wrong, why we can't get public health data from point A to point B.
I completed my Jepson internship at Wells Fargo, and I applied the trait theories of leadership to that internship. And I will be working in their wealth and investment management program after graduation.
I interned at a small music management company in Los Angeles remotely. I think my theories and models class really helped me learn the different styles of leadership and balancing that out across many different people.
So this summer I worked at the Hartford Insurance Company, and I was able to utilize my Jepson knowledge and leadership principles in order to effectively interact with my managers and make for a great experience.
I completed my Jepson internship last summer at CVS Health's General Management Corporate Internship Program. I'm excited to announce I will be accepting a full-time position as an associate in their General Management Leadership Development Program.
Big thing for me and Jepson specifically is accountability and also responsibility, and I've had a lot of really great experiences on campus getting to demonstrate that, both in the Richmond Octaves, in my local fraternity, and also the Collegian student-run newspaper.
So there's a lot that I've taken from Jepson, especially with my work in the Office of Admission, working with the tour guide program, and so that's been super helpful managing a team of like 100 people and working on how to inspire people and using charismatic leadership as one of my core tenets.
As a leader, there's going to be sufferings involved, there's going to be hard times, happy times, and just acting in a nuanced way.
When I was the president of Trick or Treat Street on campus, the Jepson School really reminded me how important it is to keep the people that you're leading front and center all the time, whether that was the other people on the executive board or the hundreds of kids that came to campus for our Halloween parades.
I was able to learn that leader is not just the role itself and having that position, but it's also learning to be kind and being able to set an example for others to follow as well.
As an executive member of Spiderboard, the student programming organization for the past 2 years, I've learned that collaboration and relationship-oriented behavior really helps with student engagement and peer engagement and keeps everyone involved in the organization.
I've learned to really dive into communication skills, especially in my role as a resident assistant on campus and as co-president of Jepson Student Government.
From Jepson, I really learned effective stakeholder management, really ensuring diversity and inclusion, as well as transformative leadership principles. During my time on campus, I've served on the West Hampton College Government Association, as well as started my own organization at Spider Venture Fund.
In Theories and Models with Professor Forsyth, I learned the value of good relationships leading to good leadership. So in any role I found myself in, I tried to make sure I wasn't just a leader, but also a friend to the people within the organization, and I think that really contributed to good leadership in almost all of my roles.
The Jepson School of Leadership has definitely enhanced my communication and teamwork skills, which has helped me in my role as a student athlete here at Richmond.
I'm actually also a double major in the business school, and going into my junior year, I launched a peer mentoring program within the business school. Through Jepson, I was able to apply those skills that I had learned and how to be a leader to the peer mentoring program and bringing a group of people together to reach a common goal.
I'm currently doing research for my honors thesis, and as a pre-med and Jepson student, I'm really interested in the connection between medicine and leadership. The study we're working on is looking at how the physician's leadership style as well as the physician's race impacts a medical interaction.
I am studying under Dr. Crystal Hoyt to look at how growth versus fixed mindsets impact domains such as weight, addiction, mental illness, and gender. And I'm presenting my research at the Society for Personality and Social Psychology this coming February in San Francisco.
My Jepson honors thesis is on the gamification of well-being, and I built a limited app to run an experiment through in which I'm testing different behavioral modification techniques, and I'm trying to determine what's the most effective for long-term exercise habit formation.
I am studying Richmond's history of redlining and other housing policies that have segregated Richmond's neighborhoods to create the separate and unequal public education system we see today.
I'm double majoring in leadership studies and biology, and I'm combining those two majors and looking at the ethics of human moral enhancement with Dr. Flanagan.
This past year, I've been working with Dr. Terry Price. We've been studying COVID vaccine hesitancy and particularly different methods that can be used to increase vaccine uptake in an ethical and practical manner.
I'm doing research relating to how new policing technologies reinforce perceptions of minority criminality and the economic function of the prison industrial complex.
I'm currently doing an honors thesis advised by Dr. Williamson about how rhetoric impacts progressive healthcare policy through a content analysis as well as an experiment.
I'm doing honors research thesis that focuses on public schools in my home state of Delaware and educational achievement for Black students in particular.
I was fortunate enough to work with Dr. Forsyth this past semester, and it was extremely rewarding and great experience for me as I was able to analyze leadership in a sports context using my teammates on the baseball team.
This year I've been doing my senior thesis with Dr. Crystal Hoyt, and I've been studying correlations between civic engagement and volunteering on college campuses with morality.
So I'm currently conducting an honors Jepson thesis with Dr. Harwell, and we're researching changes in consumer behavior and attitude based on what we're asking of consumers in the context of industrialized factory farming and its impact on the environment, human health, and animal welfare.
After graduation, I will be moving to DC, where I accepted a full-time offer with Guidehouse after my Jepson internship, and I'll be working in their national security sector on their financial management team.
I'll start working at Cvent. It's a technology company up in Northern Virginia. I completed my Jepson internship there last summer and had a lot of fun and met a lot of great people. And I am super excited to go back and work for them.
Starting next fall, I'll be working full-time as a healthcare consultant in Washington, D.C. in the healthcare solutions practice, working with hospital leaders to solve the biggest challenges of healthcare today.
I plan to travel internationally with some of my friends after graduation for a month or so, and then I'm starting at a company called Alpha Sites in New York in September. I did my Jepson internship there, and I absolutely loved the company, so I'm looking forward to going back there.
As soon as I graduate, I'm going to travel, take the LSAT, and then start working as a paralegal in New York in September for 2 years before hopefully going to law school.
Last summer, I completed my Jepson internship at Alpha Sites, which is a knowledge on-demand company, and after graduation, I'll be returning to their New York City office to work on their marketing team.
I've applied to some graduate programs to pursue a master's in public policy, and then eventually I want to work my way to DC to work in federal policy.
Last summer, through my Jepson internship, I interned at PSE&G, which is a large utility in New Jersey, and as a result, I got a full-time offer in the Renewable Energy Department designing energy efficiency programs for low-income communities.
Law school. While the exact destination isn't determinate, I know I will be taking all of the intellectual and interpersonal insights that the Jepson schools imparted upon me wherever I end up.
After graduation, I'm going to be moving to DC to return to the company I did my Jepson internship at, called Berkeley Research Group, as an associate in their healthcare analytics practice.
I took an education and equity class, and I absolutely loved it. We covered topics like restorative justice initiatives and school-to-prison pipeline, and so I decided to go get my master's in counselor education in the next coming years, so I'm very excited.